Hello and welcome to the Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go through a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. So grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. Today's subject we're going to be going over 9.1 and more specifically we're going to be going over the sort of balance changes, the class changes that are coming with PTR that are currently on the PTR and are in 9.1 PTR at the moment. Obviously these can be subject to change, but usually they'll stick with it and give it to live servers and then maybe look at balancing it a little bit after that with maybe hot fixes or like 9.1.5 etc. So let's get into it. So with the 9.1 PTR, obviously there's a load of stuff that's coming with it. New zone, new mounts, new raid, etc. But we're going to be looking at the talents. There's some that just got a bit tweaked in terms of their like cooldown. Some got tweaked in terms of damage. There's new talents. There's loads of new Covenant stuff. There's loads of Covenant things to do with like legendaries. But we're starting off with the Druid and more specifically the Balance Druid. You got a few changes to the talents here. So New Moon now has a 20-second recharge time instead of 25. Not bad. You get a full moon every minute pretty much instead of every minute 15. So, you know, can be useful. Along that same line, that level 60 line, or level 50 line, sorry, Solstice now causes shooting stars to fall 200% more often. This is instead of 300%. So they're sort of, because a lot of people use Solstice or Fury of Elune. I personally like Fury of Elune as it generates a lot of astral power. Some people go for Solstice. It really depends on your personal preference. Solstice I have been using in PvE a lot more, but this kind of brings it in line with New Moon. They kind of want New Moon to just not be, you know, useless in regards. So they want to sort of like try and bring it all into the same power level. Stellar Drift, which is a talent, has been redesigned. So Starfall damage is increased by 25% and allows you to cast while moving when Starfall is active. But it has a 15-second cooldown. So the Starfall being active is a bit weird. Like the damage increase is nice, but rarely you'll be pressing Starfall unless it's like a very big pack in like a PvE situation. This doesn't really affect PvP at all. You're not going to be using this talent at all in PvP. You'd have to be a bit crazy to do so. So maybe there's some niche uses in terms of PvE, maybe on fortified weeks where you're doing pulls, or maybe even tyrannical weeks where you're doing bigger pulls. Therefore, you'd get more uptime and more use out of the Starfall damage. But who knows? The free Starfall from Oneth's Clear Vision, the legendary from the Rune Carver, ignores the Stellar Drift talent or Starfall cooldown. So basically, with the legendary, obviously if you've used the Stellar Drift and you've got a 15-second cooldown on your Starfall, you proc a Starfall from this legendary, it won't, or like it will ignore the 15-second cooldown, so you can press that Starfall pretty much, which is very good. That makes the legendary very good. Makes it very good. Balance of All Things legendary now grants 24% increased critical strike chance. Was 40, and it decreases by 3% every 1 second. Was 8% every 1 second. For 5 seconds it decreased. So kind of a nerf here at the higher end. Obviously you get more crit throughout the time that you have it on, but you're losing a massive burst window as soon as you proc an Eclipse. So there can be good and bad things to this, but I generally see this as a nerf overall because you want massive burst damage in PvP. PvE, again, you can move on to Oneth's Clear Vision for the Starfall. You can sort of do a AoE build with that. So PvE, this isn't really the worst thing to happen, but for PvP, this does hit Balance Druid quite hard. Moving on to Mage, and more specifically Fire Mage. Flame Strike damage has been reduced by 10%. very straightforward. Flame Patch, a talent, its damage is reduced by 10% as well. This is a fire strike talent, so it increases, or it puts a patch on the floor after your fire strike and deals ticking damage. Kindling, which is a talent, cooldown reduction for combustion reduced to 1 second, was 1.5. So every time you get a crit, it reduced your combustion by 1.5 seconds. It's now 1 second. And this is going to matter quite a bit, because that 1.5 second, obviously fire mages are built around crits, so you're getting crits quite often. That will give combustion another 20 second or cooldown, I'd say. You get about a good chunk out of that 0.5 seconds just from getting crits and stuff. Infernal Cascade, which is a conduit, its fire damage bonus is reduced by 20%. And I believe this is a really good one. This is like consecutive crits or like fire blast crits, etc. So it's really good that they've sort of tuned this down, as fire did have quite a big punch, when you press that combust. For priests, we got one thing for each specialization. So for Disc, you have Spirit Shell talent. Its cooldown is increased to 90 seconds instead of 60 seconds. Very straightforward. Holy, Symbol of Hope has been redesigned. It bolsters the morale of party or raid members within 40 yards. They each recover 60 seconds of cooldowns on major defensive abilities, and they regain 12% of their missing mana over 5 seconds. Now that in a raid is insane. 60 seconds on a major cooldown or a major defensive ability. That is real. 60 seconds. My only defensive ability, apart from Bear Form, is Bark Skin. And Bark Skin's a minute cooldown. It's just a straight damage reduction, a 20% damage reduction. So I just get an instant Bark Skin if they channel this, or depending on if they class it as a major defensive ability. That's really good though. That is really good. You'd obviously use it for the mana, but the 60 second reduced cooldown is just very nice, baked into the ability. Shadow, oh my god, Dissonant Echoes, I think. Conduit now grants 20% increased Void Bolt damage. It was 35, so there's a 15% nerf, which, nearly half of the Conduit, which is going to really hit Shadow Priests hard. Shadow Priests are slowly but surely coming to the forefront of PvP and PvE, actually. There's a little bit of PvE action for them, but mainly PvP. It's, really going to hit hard. For rogues, the shield from Cloaking Shadows Conduit is now 50% larger. It lasts 4 seconds. It previously had no duration and no longer decays while the rogue is out of stealth. So this is the shield that basically lets rogues stay in stealth when they have dots on them and stuff. So to have it as 4 seconds, it gives the rogue a little bit of time to run away in PvP situations, and they'll still be brought out of stealth possibly by the ticking dots, after the shield is gone. So it gives the rogue a chance to get away, but it also gives the enemy a chance to, find them and catch up to them, not allow them to re-stealth again. Warlock, you got a few things for affliction and a couple things for destruction, or one thing for destruction. Dark Pack's talent, this is a talent for all specializations. Additional Absorb Shield has been increased by 216%. Really weird number, not sure why the 216 is needed, but Sack Pack, as it was called, or it was called Sacrificial Pack, I'm pretty sure. But Dark Pack, big shield, it does a certain percent of your health and turns it into a shield. So 216% of that is very chunky. That is a very good defensive ability, to be honest, if used at the right timing in a PvP situation. Even in a PvE, that could save you from maybe some mythic mechanic that you have not moved out of, or you've accidentally forgotten about, stuff like that. For destruction, this one's nice and straightforward. Chaos Bolt damage is increased by 10%. Very straightforward. Nice little buff there to destruction. Affliction Warlock, Malefic Rapture, damage has been reduced by 18%. The Malefic Rapture is when you've got all of your dots on the character, and basically you press this button, and depending on how many dots you have on that character, it deals a certain amount of damage, pretty much. So if you have 1 dot on the character, it will do 1,000 damage. 2 dots, 2,000 damage. You get the idea. Agony, to compensate for the Malefic Rapture. Agony's damage has been increased by 20%, so make sure you're decursing that if you've ever got it on you in a PvP situation. Shadow Embrace now lasts 16 seconds. It was 12 seconds and can only be applied to 1 target at a time. Not too sure about that one, in all honesty. Focused Malignance or Malignancy Conduit. Its effectiveness reduced by 53%. That's huge. That's a massive nerf. Apparently they didn't like that one. And the last one, which has me absolutely loving life, Sacrilash's Dark Strike. The legendary has been redesigned. So corruption damage is now increased by 25%. It was 15%. And each time corruption deals damage, it extends the duration of all of your curses active on the target by 2 seconds. And what this legendary originally was, it was corrupted targets' movement speed slowed by 50%. And corruption is an instant damage over time effect that you can just put on a target and suddenly they're slowed by 50%. I'm a druid, so I don't necessarily feel the effects of this. I still do, even though I'm like constantly shapeshifting in and out of forms. But if you're a priest, you can't really move. If you're a shaman, you're not having fun. If you're a warrior, any sort of melee cleave, you are really not having fun with this damn warlock legendary. So I think everyone will be happy to see that go out in 9.1, apart from them, pesky affliction warlocks. For the Covenants, there's a few new things that are happening to the Covenants. I'll be going back to PvP talents later. They'll be just down the line a bit. So, new Covenant campaign chapters, of course. There's 40 new renown levels to sink your teeth into. Loads of cosmetics and stuff will come with it. There's new Soulbind tiers. So, all existing Soulbinds now have 4 new rows. 3 new conduit slots, 1 potency, 1 endurance and 1 finesse. 2 new traits and 1 kappa trait is called. So like a final trait, one that you can like one right at the bottom, because obviously it splits into 2 and then goes back into the 1 tree. For Kyrian, these are a few things for like Covenant. So Kyrian, the Soul Steel Clamps, which is from Mechanicos, now reduces the duration of stun and in-cap effects by 20%. It was 30% originally. Sparking Drift Globe Core, which is from Mechanicos again. Its cooldown increased to 1 minute, was 45, and now triggers at 30% health, was 35. So you got that little bit extra wiggle room, and this is the stun, I believe. So a stun every 45 seconds when you're going to get low is kind of annoying. Not good fun. For Necrolord, sulfuric emission fear duration has been reduced to 3.5 seconds. It was 4.5, so a nice second off of that for the fear. And for Venthyr, the familiar... oh my god, some of these words, I swear to god, it just doesn't register in my mind correctly. Predicaments. Familiar predicaments. Now reduces incoming interrupter, snare and root effects by 20%, and it was 25. So a few tweaks to the Kyrian Necrolord and Venthyr traits and stuff there, but nothing too major. Dungeons and Raids, obviously the new dungeon, or the new raid, Sanctum of Domination, is going to be able to be tested on the 16th of April, which is the day that this podcast does come out, so definitely keep an eye on that. Definitely keep an eye on Twitch, because most people might be streaming on Twitch, and there's a lot of lore in this raid, so definitely keep an eye out on that if you are interested in the lore side of things. Couple things with items and rewards. The Ordnance Trinket now puts other unused trinkets on a 40-second cooldown instead of a 20-second cooldown. So, a little bit of a extra waiting period between popping another trinket, but you gotta do what you gotta do. I think this saves people from overlapping 2 trinkets in one fight, because I'm not sure how long this trinket lasts for, to be honest. So I'm guessing that people would pop this trinket, pop another trinket, and then absolutely blast a boss, blast a pack of mobs, etc. So it's to refrain from that happening. So now we're going back to the talents and classes, and we're looking at PvP talents and things. And they've really shaken some things up, and we'll get to them shaking it up right now. So new PvP talent, Shroud of Winter. This is for a Frost Death Knight. Not too sure how it works yet. I need to go on the PTR and really check it out when I can. And they actually removed Heartstop Aura as a PvP talent. Heartstop Aura was an insane talent for Death Knights. What it did was basically make your cooldowns, take 30% longer to get back. So if it's a 30-second cooldown, it now becomes a 40-second cooldown. Stuff like that. If it's a 3-second cooldown, it's a 4-second cooldown. And it really did affect you. In the longevity of games, if a Death Knight was close enough to you for this Heartstop Aura to be, hitting you, you're not having fun. You can't press your buttons as often as you think. And muscle memory, muscle memory basically says to you, okay, this cooldown will be ready. It's been 15 seconds. Oh, wait, no, I got to wait 20 seconds instead now. So it's really intriguing that they've removed that. I'm not sure why. For Mage, you've got quite a few things that are spicing things up here. So obviously Fire Mage have been very, very dominant and at the forefront of PvP. We've seen no Arcane Mages in high-level play, and you've seen very few Frost Mages in high-level play. So Kleptomania, a PvP talent that every mage ran, it basically makes your spells steal everything from the target in one go instead of one thing at a time, because that way it guarantees you some really big cooldowns that the mage might have popped, etc. But that is now arcane only, Kleptomania. Dampen Magic has been removed as a PvP talent, and Dampen Magic basically reduced the damage of damage over time effects on you, magical damage over time effects. So Warlocks are probably quite happy with that. If you're looking at Fire, they have a new PvP talent called Ring of Fire. Don't play with fire, kids. You definitely don't want to burn yourself. But what this does is basically it's like Ring of Frost, but it deals 24% of your max health. That's it, if you get hit by it, I'm pretty sure. Controlled Burn has been redesigned. Ignite deals 100% more damage while Combustion is not active. So what this does is basically it gives mages some consistent damage outside the combust window. So what it was mages had nothing. They barely had any sort of damage outside combust. When they pressed combust, they just skyrocketed. You might get 100 to 0 within a couple global cooldowns. It's ridiculous. So they're trying to even it out so that if you think of it as a line or like a chart, you've got really high damage, really low damage on this chart. You're just at the low damage, you press combust, you're skyrocket, you've gone past this chart's top, and then combust goes and you're at the bottom again. It's that sort of thing. There's no in between. So they're trying to even this out so that, there's a middle ground and that they're doing consistent damage. But when combust is active, it pushes it up by 50%, that sort of thing. Because you want to know that you're pressing a cooldown, that kind of thing. World of Flames, PvP talent, now causes Flame Strike to reduce the cast time of Flame Strike by 50%. It was 1.25 seconds originally, and it increases its damage by 30% for 3 seconds. It was 20% permanently. So a little buff. I don't think you'll be using World in Flames though, to be honest. You're never really using Flame Strike at all, unless it's to stop a drink, and even then you're not going to use it to kill that person while they're drinking, are you? So looking towards Frost now, and this is the one that got me. New PvP talent, Ice Wall. And this is intriguing because they've never ever done anything like this, I believe, in the history of WoW. So Ice Wall is what it suggests. You put up a wall of ice. And what it does is it actually blocks terrain. Now, so you can block line of sight with this. So there can be some magnificent plays that you can do with this, but this is the first ability that they've ever introduced where it can block line of sight. You can basically put up a part of the map for yourself. You can block the healer from their DPS. You can block them like melee in a corner. You can, there's so many potential things that you could do, but it could be amazing. Like, if they nail this talent perfectly, then I think that this could really change it for like frost mages. The wall does have health, and you can destroy it from the enemy's perspective. It's 40% health, or it's 40% of the mage's total health. That's how much the wall has. So you can destroy it, but this can be like a real game changer, this talent, if they get it right for frost mages. Moving on, a few tweaks here and there. Frostbolt now deals 100% more damage in PvP combat. It was 15%. So they just turned the scale right up on the Frost Mage damage a little bit there. Deep Shatter, it's a PvP talent, now increases the damage of Frostbolt by 75% on frozen targets. It was originally 150. So once again, they're doing this thing where they want to even out mage damage. You got really high spikes and really low sort of output, like when they're not bursting, so they just want to even this out for all mages, I suspect. Burst of Cold, PvP talent, now increases the damage of Cone of Cold by 600%. This was 400%. Cone of Cold being an iconic mage ability. I don't really see much use of this. It might push it over the edge and might be used to like finish a target off if you've got nothing else left really. But, you know, you probably look to take something else over this. They're looking at Monk, and more specifically Mistweaver, a lot. So you got 3 new talents, 3 new PvP talents. Peace Weaver, dematerialized, sorry, oh my lord, that was dumb, and Thunderous Tea. So I'm not too sure about all of these. Dematerialize, I would imagine, is a very good defensive ability. It seems like it would be something where you phase out of reality and it's like reduces damage by 50%, or like an immunity. It's like 3 seconds where you can't be hit, that kind of thing. Thunderous Tea, I would imagine, is possibly a mana regen thing, because Mistweavers do struggle with mana regen quite a bit. And they probably, they have good healing output, they have good defensives and stuff, but they just really struggle on mana, more so than any other class, I'd say, including Priest. So I'd think that they would try and reprimand that a little bit, and the Thunderous Tea might be what, you know, does that for them. Not too sure about Peace Weaver, to be honest with you. That one is just a wait and see. Counteract Magic, has been redesigned. So each hostile magic effect removed from the target increases the healing they receive by 2% for 10 seconds. And this stacks up to 10 times. So if you're against an Affliction Warlock, might be useful to take this, because after you've dispelled, you get a little bit of healing increase on that target. So it might be very useful, might not. Refreshing Breeze has been redesigned. So healing done by Soothing Mist increases the healing of your next Expel Harm on the target during the channel, and it causes to dispel 1 magic, poison, or disease effect. So this is just sort of, again, I think very much into going against a Warlock. Your Soothing Mist, Expel Harm will obviously take away a little magic effect, and you know, it stops a little bit of their ramp up damage, so not too bad. Eminence has been redesigned. So Transcendence, Transfer can now be cast while stunned, and its cooldown is increased by 15 seconds if it is cast while not stunned. Holy I didn't read that one before. That's insane. Because a Monk can be switched to very easily, as they have no sort of pain suppression if they get stunned. They have no sort of bubble. They have no bark, skin, iron bark, unlike all the other healing classes. But this, changes a lot because they can just port back out of line of sight when they are stunned, and that is insanely huge for them. That is a massive buff to them, and I wouldn't think that you'd ever change out that PvP talent, in all honesty, because that seems very, very good. And the Surging Mist PvP talent has been removed. So, goodbye to that. But that Eminence one is amazing. That is probably what will push monks over the edge in terms of like healing. With Priest, you've got a new talent, Improved Master Spell. I believe this is just 15 seconds reduced cooldown, and it also reduced mana cost. There's not much use to this, I don't think. There was one instance where I think it was brought up to be like you can Master Spell every trap or something for a Shadow Priest as it lines up with trap cooldown, but I think that's about it. I don't think there's much else to it. For Shadow, Lasting Plague PvP talent has been removed, so goodbye to that talent, and there's nothing else on Priest. For Rogue, Mark of the Master Assassin power, this is the legendary, its duration has been reduced by 40% in PvP combat, so quite a hefty nerf there. Assassination gets a new PvP talent, Hemotoxin. Not too sure what it does. It seems like it would be maybe like a static effect where it would either be reducing mobility, it would be reducing, cast speed, healing done, something like that. And Neurotoxin PvP talent has been removed. For Warlocks, you get a new PvP talent, Shadow Rift, which sounds very cool. Not too sure how it works, but, get to see it very soon. And for Affliction, Soul Shatter PvP talent has been removed. So they seem to be removing a lot of talents, I've noticed, and bringing in new ones in. So they're, chopping and changing, really trying some stuff out. For Demonology, a new PvP talent, Fell Obelisk, which sounds really cool. It seems like it would be it would just be something that you put in the middle and it would have like a ring around it. If you're close to it, you take increased damage, that kind of thing. Cool Fell Lord PvP talent now deals 200% of the caster's spell power per swing. It was 5% of the target's maximum health. And the cooldown of the ability is increased to 2 minutes. It was 1.5. So 200% of caster's spell power could be huge. You could just stack spell power and this thing could absolutely chunk, possibly. So just keep an eye on that. Definitely don't get caught out by that. And Singe Magic has been removed also. For Destruction, they have a new PvP talent as well. Bonds of Fell. Sounds like a root to me, in all honesty. Chaos Bolt now deals 40% more damage in PvP combat. It was originally 15%, so a nice little buff for Chaos Bolt there. Not to mention the 10% buff just generally, like when I said it earlier. Instead, it's got like an extra 40% locked onto it in a PvP scenario. And the Focused Chaos PvP talent has been removed. The Focused Chaos talent, I remember this one. This one actually, basically, you can't use it to hit 2 targets, Chaos Bolt, but it just increased the damage of Chaos Bolt to 1 target. So definitely not fun to get hit by a big chunky Chaos Bolt. A few things. Rune Carving. New Rune Carving powers for Death Knight, Druid, Warrior, Mage have new powers on the PTR currently. Some existing powers have been updated. Like the Druid ones I know have been updated. So definitely check them out. And obviously you have the new zone such as Korthia, the new assaults and stuff like that on the PTR at the moment. But I'm going to go over everything else on the PTR next week. I just wanted to specifically have a look at all of the balance changes that they're bringing to the classes, not necessarily the content that they're bringing to 9.1. That definitely deserves its own podcast, as there is a lot in it, and it might even be over 2 podcasts because there seems to be a lot that they're changing. But that is going to wrap it up for this week, guys. Thank you all very much for listening. As always, check out the social medias for Pig and Whistle, they can be found on the website. And do check out the Pig and Whistle Patreon. There's been a little overhaul there, so go check it out. If you feel like, helping the podcast even more, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you all very much as always, and I'll see you next week, guys. Go with Valor Friend. Goodbye all.